Frustrating loss for the Yankees today. They lose 8-7 to the Orioles, drop the series as well. Just not good at all. Orioles came in 50 games, under 500, 3 at home. Yankees dropped 2 of them, including the one today where Corey Kluber got the start, and he was he didn't have his great stuff. The command really wasn't there. 3 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 walks, or 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. The stuff was fine. It was the command really that was an issue. He's still working himself back up. Only 78 pitches in this one. They've opted to have him build himself back up in the majors rather than the minors. So it's not overly concerning. You're gonna build him up a little bit. So that's not really where the worry is. You need him to eat innings right now because the Yankees bullpen's really taxed, and that was the story pregame. Aaron Boone talked about Jonathan Loaisiga, who was put on the IL before today's game with right rotator cuff strain. That just doesn't sound good. Even I have no medical expertise, but rotator cuff strain, it's not what you want to hear. He's shut down completely for 10 days. They're going to see where he goes from here. The answer, if he comes back or not, up in the air completely. Boone said he's hopeful, but you don't know it all. And this was obviously the one guy in the bullpen you couldn't lose this year. He's objectively been their best reliever, maybe even in all baseball. He leads all relievers in F4. He's a multi-inning weapon. We know this stuff is A+, so it really does hurt to lose Jonathan Loaisiga. The multi-inning ability out of the bullpen, that's something that really plays in the playoffs. He's definitely your most trusted guy. You always feel good about him in a big spot. So not having him is crushing, and you're going to have to hope that guys like Clay Holmes, Wandy Peralta, Joey Rodriguez, they're going to have to weather the storm a bit. Obviously, Aroldis Chapman. But back to this one, it looked like those 2 runs over 4 for Kluber would be enough early on, and that was because of Gary Sanchez. He had his best at-bat of the season, and probably his best overall game. The at-bat that I'm talking about, 9-pitch AB. He hits a grand slam, crushes a home run to left field, and then he hits another home run later in the game, a 2-run shot. So 6 RBIs for him, 2 homers. 6 of the 7 runs came off his bat. And he's hitting 9 today, and with him, obviously as a catcher, a weaker offensive position, both those things that have that upside in the 9 spot and from the offensive side as a catcher, it's a huge advantage that the Yankees have over every other team. The Death Star lineup that we've kind of talked about and alluded to once the trade deadline has got here, it finally saw some action today, just a few innings though. Gio Urshela came in to pinch it late for Rougned Odor, but we expect and hope with Gleyber Torres back, Gio back as well, that the Death Star lineup, obviously with the acquisition guys, is going to be in play a little bit. And then looking more into the game, there were 2 innings, I think, 2 things where you can point to where there's a lot of frustration. If you're the Yankees, 1 in the 5th inning, you're up 4-1, 2 outs, no one on, Albert Abreu, ground ball to Gleyber Torres, and give credit to Gutierrez on the Orioles. He hustles all the way down the line, and he beats it out. And Gleyber Torres really didn't show enough urgency or whatever. He kind of let the ball come to him. And that, while it's not an error, it's a mental error. And the next batter, Cedric Mullins, makes him pay. It's a 2-run shot, which cuts the 4-1 lead to 4-3, and it would have completely been avoided if the routine grounder was made. So that's really something that you're frustrated about. And the second came in the bottom of the 7th. Andrew Heaney comes into this game up 7-4. And first off, just before we get into that, there's zero reason he should be pitching in the spot over Luis Seal. Luis Seal has better stuff. Luis Seal has better results. In his 3 starts, we know he didn't give up a run. So there's no reason. I know the Andrew Heaney experiment has not really worked. There was that one really great special start versus the Red Sox, but that's not enough to justify this. He really has been a 0 for the Yankees outside of that, and it was a great trade deadline for the Yankees, but that's really a move that has not panned out at all. And in this one, he unraveled. Probably his worst appearance as a Yankee. First 4 men get on. He's getting hit around, a double. And he ends up leaving the game at 7-7, first and third, 1 out. Given a 3-run lead against this offense, you have to compete more than that. Just the fastball command was not there for him, and the Orioles made him pay. Wandy Peralta comes in. He gives up a single, gives up the lead. Tough spot, gets out of it there. You don't really put the blame on him. And then the Yankees offense, it didn't do the job after that. It was relatively very weak series for them. In their 1 win, it took 2 extra innings to get it done. Gary Sanchez completely carried the offense today. It was very lackluster besides that. Just the Anthony Rizzo bloop single. They threatened a little in the 7th, first and second, 1 out, tying run up in the 8th. Go-ahead run with Gallo at the plate, but they were not able to push anything across. And 8-7 was the final. It's Boone kind of talked about after this game. And first off, he doesn't really get blame here. It's a really tough spot with the bullpen being so taxed. And Andrew Heaney's a guy who hadn't pitched in a week. He can go multiple innings. He can do that for you. So he's on your roster. You're going to put him in. He kind of talked about after the game, this really bad series overall and where the Yankees can go from here.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating, that we didn't put our best foot forward the last couple of days. Now we've got obviously a very good hot team coming in to play us, and we've got to do better, but the good thing is we hold the pen. We get the right story still, and we've responded from tough days, tough moments, tough stretches, and we have to do it again.
And looking back at this series and this game, this probably was the worst loss in the season with context. You look at the Rays. You're obviously chasing them in the AL East. They went 18-1 against the Orioles. You have 3 games at home. We alluded to the schedule on different shows and different stuff. 6 games against the Orioles. You thought, okay, that's at the very worst 5-1, probably 6-0. But to lose 2 of 3 at home versus this team is very bad. In this game, you're up 3 in the 7th versus a team 50 games under, and you lose it. Very frustrating. So I think in that aspect, it probably is the worst loss of the season. But you got to just turn the page here. It's going to happen. The 13-game win streak, it's in the rear mirror. You threw it out with losing 4 of 6 in back-to-back series. So you can't think about that now. You have to keep winning games. And the Red Sox, too, I feel like it's very, Yankees and Red Sox are both up 4.5 comfortably on wild cards. But you got to fight here for this first wild card. You're up a half game on the Red Sox. They lost today to the Cleveland Indians. You need to stay ahead. You need to get that wild card game at home. 7 games out on the Rays. It's not attainable. You're looking at it's going to come down likely to the Yankees and Red Sox, but the Yankees have to take care of business because they'll have the Blue Jays coming to town next. The Blue Jays are red hot. They've won 4 straight. They've beat the A's. The A's have kind of fallen off, and the Blue Jays can make this a race here. 4.5, you sweep. Suddenly it's a game and a half. Anything can happen. So the Yankees, they need to take care of business. This series coming up, it's huge. They're all huge at this point. But you got to keep winning them, put this behind you, and keep playing good baseball. So we'll see what happens there. Jameson Taillon will get the start tomorrow, try to bounce back after 3 really shaky starts, 8.5 ERA in his last 3. So put it behind you and win this series if you are the New York Yankees. I'm Ryan Gregware reporting for WFUV Sports.